Woke, woke, woke! I can't remember the first time I heard the word woke in a figurative context, but it sure is hard to get away from it these days. It comes up all the time in film reviews and discussions, and it is always negative. But most of the time, the way people use it lacks consistency, almost as if the people using the word woke don't understand what exactly they mean when they apply it to something. It is almost meaningless. And when I hear it, I tune out. If the person leveling criticism is using woke as the main defense of their negative position, I give them no credit and am more than likely to just ignore them outright. It is like people calling everyone who gets upset a Karen. It is just lazy and communicates nothing to me. Use your words. Be more articulate and precise. Say what you mean, but understand what you mean first. To satisfy my curiosity, I did a little digging into the history and usage of the word woke, what terms it replaced in a more modern context, and when it shifted towards its current negative connotation. Here's what I found, if you want to know. I started on Wikipedia and confirmed what I found there, so judge me on that if you want. Woke was used by African Americans in the early 20th century as a term warning people to maintain awareness of prejudice and discrimination based on race. It was like, wake up, don't fall asleep, be vigilant, don't close your eyes and pretend nothing is happening. One example I found, cited online, was a 1938 song by Leadbelly about some young black men who were falsely accused of assaulting some white women. I will quote him. I advise everybody, be a little careful when they go along through there. Best stay woke. Keep their eyes open. Informed, aware, acknowledging unfairness, injustices, discrimination, especially systemic ones. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good policy. Pay attention, look at issues deeply, listen to others but remain a little skeptical, and try to get as much information as possible. I suppose it was a term largely used in the USA, largely by the black community, largely related to racial inequity. Another more recent example I found, cited online, was in a 2008 song by Erykah Badu. She sings, I stay woke. The newer definition of this phrase, stay woke, is self-aware, questioning the dominant paradigm, and striving for something better. The meaning had been moving in this direction prior to that, and her usage of the term highlighted its broader connotation going into the new millennium. This song and other contemporaneous examples seem to be credited with popularizing the term with a younger audience, and the addition of challenging the status quo and seeking improvement in society shifted the meaning of woke from a kind of warning to stay alert among the black community to a wider purpose of making the world a better place. Better in this case meaning fairer, I suppose, by tackling discrimination and inequality, be it based on race, gender, sexuality, or what have you. This meaning was like a call to arms for minority groups, and those not in the minority who wished to support those groups. With the wider definition came a sort of dilution, in a way, as the term started to become an umbrella for a wide range of issues. It also meant that claiming to be woke became trendy among a segment of the population who feared being seen as bad. It is like some stereotypical white people who make sure to mention that they have black friends, or straight people who trumpet the existence of their gay acquaintances. Look at me, I'm on the right side, I'm a good person, I'm woke. Or with companies. Look at who we hired, we're the right kind of company, we are woke. This tied into what some call affirmative action policies, and others call tokenism. In social media, there have been so many examples of white knights, usually literally white people, who throw their hats in the ring to defend a minority group they feel has been slighted by someone, also usually white, usually called privileged, who is insulting that minority group's culture or identity. Whether members of that group actually feel insulted or not, whether members of that group can defend themselves or not. Look at me, I am a hero. It is usually just virtue signaling. Jordan Peele poked fun at this attitude in Get Out when Dean Armitage, the father of the family who helps rich, mainly white folks put their minds into cool black bodies, proclaims that he would have voted for Obama for a third term if it had been allowed. The concept of being woke started to become a parody of itself. I guess it was around this time that the term got picked up by the news media and started being overused there. Again, it is like the overuse of Karen or the tendency to slap the suffix gate onto the end of every scandal. Watergate was the name of a hotel. Iran-Contra-gate, Boobgate, Gamergate. Lazy and meaningless. This overuse by the media and the overuse to make oneself look good, the dilution of the original meaning, and the parodying of the attitude inevitably led to more direct negativity and politicization. Woke became a term associated with progressives, liberals, much like the pejorative social justice warrior, or SJW, that woke has largely replaced. I can't even remember the last time I heard SJW, but it used to be used a lot, always in a negative manner. Woke became a label to be ashamed of, denoting falseness and defense of fringe beliefs, among other things, used by those who called themselves conservative to attack those they called liberal. Just another weapon in identity politics. So all of that leaves me where I started. What does woke mean in today's context? What are those people talking about when they spit the word woke at some kind of entertainment they don't like? It usually comes across as, there are white women where there should be men. Why are the women so capable and the men so weak? Why are there so many brown people? I get it, sometimes. I'm not a fan of gender-swapping well-known characters in what seems to be a PR stunt. I'm not a fan of swapping the race of an established white character for reasons that seem to be related to the image of the studio. Sometimes I'm turned off because the chosen performer doesn't line up with how I envisioned the character, and it takes me out of the film. Like when Tom Cruise cast himself as Jack Reacher. Tom Cruise, who is 5'7", 170 centimeters tall, while Jack Reacher is known in the books for his size, 6'5", 196 centimeters tall. Way to piss off book fans, Tom. No wonder your 2 Jack Reacher films failed. On the other hand, a lot of James Bond fans complained that Daniel Craig was a terrible choice to play the character because he is blonde. They shut their mouths when Casino Royale came out, though. Judge the product after you see it. You might be surprised, and your tolerances might be widened. Or maybe not. That being said, it is a writer's job to imagine and bring newness to the story. It is the actor's job to become the character and deliver the vision of the writer and director. Kenneth Branagh cast Denzel Washington and Keanu Reeves as half-brothers in Much Ado About Nothing, and didn't explain why one was black and the other white. He just cast people he thought could do the job best and left skin pigmentation unaddressed. It wasn't about race. As for those who use the word woke so much to express distaste for a movie or TV show, is it some kind of perceived agenda-driven action that is setting them off, real or imagined? Is the character Rey the reason the Star Wars sequel trilogy was so underwhelming? Is it because a female character was the main protagonist? Or is it because of the terrible writing, resulting in the unexplained power level she had, the mining of nostalgia in lieu of original storytelling, the stupid last-minute return of Palpatine as the villain behind everything, and all of the other flaws with the plot? Is there a reality where a better-written trilogy centered around Rey could have been amazing? Or is it all just woke because the hero was a woman? Was Padme woke too in the prequel trilogy? She was very capable. Did the all-female 2016 Ghostbusters film fail because it was woke to have a team of women as heroes? Or did it fail because there was no proper script, because a gaggle of improv comedians ad-libbed on set like it was Anchorman or something? Because there was no demand for a new Ghostbusters film completely divorced from the original, a franchise that had only 2 entries anyway, the last one being in 1989, 27 years before. The other Ghostbusters film that came out later, Afterlife, the one with Paul Rudd, did much better. Was it because it was less woke? Was it because there were more male characters in it? Or was it because it tied into the original and had a proper script, a better script? A lot of people hate Brie Larson because of how she comes across in interviews. Not because of any specific agenda she is promoting, but because they don't like how she deals with questions. She gives bad interviews. So what? Does that mean Captain Marvel was woke? Does that mean the Marvels was woke just because they focus on female heroes? Did the Marvels fail because it was woke and go woke, go broke? Or did it fail because post-Endgame, Marvel completely lost its way and there was no need to see it? Because the Marvels had a garbage script with a muddled plot, a forgettable, poorly motivated villain, characters that needed Disney Plus homework to understand, and came out too late after Captain Marvel to capitalize on fan interest in that character. Did Captain Marvel make over $1 billion because it was not woke in some way? Or because it was leading into Infinity War and every Marvel outing was a must-see at that point? I've heard from some people that one hallmark of a woke film is having a minority character as lead and lots of dumb white characters, usually male, for the lead to lord over. Every white man in the all-female Ghostbusters was inept and laughable. In that case, how about Captain Marvel? The villain was played by Annette Bening, a woman, by the way. The Skrulls were largely played by and represented in human form as white men. That hallmark doesn't hold up. Did Black Panther Wakanda Forever earn less than its predecessor because it had a female lead accompanied by a lot of female supporting characters? Was it too woke? Was Wakanda Forever woke, but Black Panther not woke? Or was it because Chadwick Boseman had passed away and he was beloved by fans? Was it because Black Panther was also part of the lead-up to Infinity War and everything felt like a must-see? Was it because the first outing drew a lot of attention for having a primarily all-black cast, which made it novel and newsworthy? Did Marvel do that as a PR stunt to appear progressive? Was it the same with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, having a primarily Asian cast? Was Marvel trying to look good? Or were these the most logical ways to tell the stories of Black Panther and Shang-Chi? By the way, Black Panther wasn't the first film featuring a black superhero. We had Blade films before that, a Spawn movie, a terrible Catwoman film, all with black heroes carrying the plot. Just saying. A friend told me after watching Wonder Woman 1984 that Pedro Pascal's character, Max Lord, having orange blonde hair, was an obvious jab at Donald Trump, and the film was agenda-driven and woke. Huh? What did Max Lord do in that film that in any way mirrored what Trump was doing? Just the hair was enough to earn that film the woke label. That and having a female lead, and a female villain, and a female director. It must be woke, right? How about all of Hayao Miyazaki's masterpieces? Spirited Away, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, Kiki's Delivery Service. Are those woke? Is Miyazaki woke for wanting to make films with universal themes that also happen to have female protagonists so that little girls might have some role models? Was Aliens woke for having Ripley lead the troops, take down the Queen Alien by herself, and successfully balance career, badass soldier, and family, surrogate mother to Newt, and relationship, blossoming attraction to Hicks, the ideal 80s woman to some? Was that woke? Was Terminator 2 woke for having Sarah Connors develop between movies into a kind of mercenary who was training her son to become a military leader in the future? Is a film woke if it has a female lead who wears a tank top and has muscular arms? Is it woke to cast Chinese performers in a movie so that it will sell tickets in China, possibly the biggest market for ticket sales? Is it woke to set part of the film in China for the same reason? In Die Another Day, James Bond was supposed to have been a Chinese prisoner, but it was changed to North Korea for exactly that reason, the Chinese ticket sales. That is just typical Hollywood pandering in an effort to maximize profits. China has 1.4 billion people. That is potentially a lot of money. What money is there in pandering to minority groups? fear of criticism by a shock-driven news media out to get clicks and views, fear of negative online discourse by permanently offended keyboard warriors, fear of a dropping stock value making investors leave. Those seem more likely motivations than being woke through unpopular inclusiveness. So, is woke just about presenting an image that staves off criticism about exclusion, presenting an image that seems socially acceptable? If so, acceptable to who? If these films fail to make a profit, it seems that they are not being accepted by enough of society to put butts in seats. Now, about fairy tales. Was Ever After, the Drew Barrymore vehicle that reimagined Cinderella without any magic, woke? She was tough, had agency, didn't need saving. Was Gretel and Hansel, the reimagined fable starring Sophia Lillis, a film that few people saw, woke? A lot has been said about this year's Snow White. People didn't like things Rachel Zegler said, even though her description of the Snow White character and the prince in Disney's 1937 animated classic was actually accurate by today's standards. That Snow White had no agency, filled a traditional motherly role to the dwarves, and was saved by love's first kiss from a man she had met once and didn't know at all. Was 2012's Snow White and the Huntsman woke or not woke for doing almost the same thing as 2025's Snow White? Social media was not as big of a factor in 2012, I suppose. No chance for Kristen Stewart to accidentally destroy the film's chances by posting something online. Peter Dinklage criticized the plan to make a live-action Snow White because he didn't think a story that portrayed dwarves in a backwards way was very modern. The project was called Snow White at that point. No dwarves mentioned at all. But he had his assumptions. He lauded the casting of a Latina actress as Snow White and wondered why the studio wasn't as progressive in other ways. So casting Rachel Zegler was progressive. Did he mean woke? Nope, because he didn't think it was bad. Woke is for criticism. Woke has to be bad. It is a negative word. What are its positive synonyms? How can I spin this semantically? Should I just say progressive? Perhaps Rachel Zegler was chosen not because she was Latina, but because, while it hadn't come out yet, West Side Story had generated buzz around her and her star was on the rise. By the way, Rachel Zegler had to convince white studio executives that she was Latina because she didn't look Latina enough and her name gave nothing away about that aspect of her heritage. Then she was criticized for being cast as Snow White because she was Latina. She's not Latina enough, and she is too Latina at the same time. Also, since her heritage on her mother's side is from Colombia, her casting in West Side Story was criticized as well by some because she was not Puerto Rican. She just can't win. Anyway, I've gone off on some tangents, so I'll wrap this up before I rant even more. What does woke mean? To me, nothing in the context it is being used lately. It seems to mean people think casting non-whites, gender-swapping roles, or using so-called non-binary performers is bad and agenda-driven. Such people seem afraid of having other viewpoints forced on them. Fair enough, if so. Just call it what it is instead of using a meaningless term like woke. Just say that you don't want the original to be changed. Just say that you prefer white performers. Just say that you don't want overt, non-traditional sexuality portrayed on screen. Or maybe it's too scary to say that out loud, and woke is just vague enough and just inflammatory enough to be your smokescreen. If those aren't the reasons, then be more articulate and precise about why you don't like a film. And watch the film before saying it sucks. If you don't want to watch it, that's your choice, of course. However, if you decided not to see it for whatever reason, you can't pass judgment on it, can you? You can just make noise. Avoidance as protest is hardly fair. Thanks for letting me rant. If you'd like to add anything, or agree, or disagree, or explain what woke means, please leave a comment. There should be room for everyone's viewpoints as long as people keep it civil. See you next time.